bullying, social anxiety,
Suicidal
ADHD,
thoughts,
depression,
self-harm,
suicidal
family.
thoughts.
That's a lot
That's a
for one
lot.
person.
Yeah.
That's a lot for one person.
you're carrying a
All right,
lot
just
of
like
demons.
just for context, it's ADHD, not being taken seriously by family, self-harm, depression relapse, suicidal thoughts, bullying, some social anxiety. That's a lot.
That's a lot.
There's one thing. It's self-harm. Like, okay, I feel like self-harm, there's one thing about it. It's like an escape, or it's like something people use to like relieve themselves.
Can I ask what type of self-harm is most common amongst
Cutting.
you guys' age group?
It's cutting.
Cutting.
Yeah. Because, like,
Your
it's-
wrist.
your
Yeah.
Anywhere.
Anywhere.
People don't stop.
Yeah.
Is the binging and purging also self-harm, or is that
What?
categories? Binging, you like people who eat and then make themselves vomit. Is that also
yeah.
is that also
Yeah,
considered
yeah,
self-harm,
yeah,
or is
anything that is harming your body and you know it. You know, sometimes it can even be self-harm. Can even be look at yourself in the mirror and you're like, damn, you are ugly. Like, that's also a type of self-harm, because you're making yourself feel lower of yourself. And sometimes self-harm, people do it because they feel a relief, or they focus on that pain more than they're focusing on their inner pain, or maybe they feel like they deserve it.
Yeah, they want to feel that pain
Like-
that they've been like
Like,
they feel
you know,
that they deserve.
some people can be told, you know, this is all your fault. Like, let's say something is going to their family. Like, let's say, what?
Let's say you're the reason your dad left, or
Yeah,
something like that.
like that.
Yeah.
And maybe they'll go and cut themselves because they feel like
It
they
actually might
deserve
be my
to
fault, yeah.
be in pain because they brought pain on other people.
so they're punishing
They're
themselves?
yeah, exactly.
Okay, but someone once said to me, I think they were also cutting themselves, but I think they're going through like a heartbreak or something, and then they started cutting themselves. They said, they have so much pain in my heart that I just want to feel pain elsewhere. So they started cutting to just like try and divert
Distract themselves from
yeah.
And it's an addiction.
Yeah,
It is a type of
and yeah, it does
addiction.
become an addiction. Again, just speak to someone, man. Like, I don't know how else to. They have to talk to somebody.
First off, I feel like people, every single time the topic of therapy is brought up, everyone's be like, is everything okay at home?
But
Like,
the problem with therapy is that it's expensive.
I know, but now it shouldn't be more expensive than your life. That's the problem. Because one, maybe you didn't spend that money, or maybe your child was like, I think I need to go to therapy. Then
And you're
the
like,
next,
no.
Yeah, no, it's too expensive. Then the next day you find them dead in their room. How would you? That's
You
so
will
much
always
worse.
blame yourself for
Exactly,
that.
because you know the thing of therapy, it should never, nothing should be too expensive for your health. I feel like that should never be the case. There should never be an excuse to heal, because
That's true, but the accessibility of it—that's a very
I know,
like,
and unfortunately that is the case.
Yeah,
But I feel like
you-
therapy. First off, therapy doesn't solve your problems. Therapy doesn't solve your problem. It doesn't solve it.
Entirely.
Okay,
But-
no,
but-
the thing is, it's a tool.
Yeah,
it's a
it's a
toolbox
tool.
to help
Yeah.
you sort out your
It
issues
opens
better.
up your
Yeah, exactly.
idea of how things played out.
Yeah, true.
I wanted to add something about getting help. You see that whole story about pain and everything. I feel like this may not be the first thing that comes to mind, because I know how sometimes feelings of wanting to harm yourself come at different kinds of times. But I'm like, if you're to get a hobby or just something to keep your mind at ease, like something that calms you, you know,
Yeah.
it can, like you said, you can go find someone to talk to, or you can find something to do that wouldn't
Music.
exactly
Literally
cause-
distract yourself.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, it's not a foolproof plan, but you know, it keeps you grounded for as
Yeah,
long
for-
as it can be.
yeah. But like I was gonna say about the therapy thing, like if you do have access to it, it would be stupid to not take that.
Yeah,
like, you know, to
exactly.
not get therapy. But if you don't, then there's other resources that you can do. There's pastoral care. There's like there's people that you can speak to. Laughing
But
because I said older
there's-
people. There's people that you can speak to who are able to like help you navigate these spaces. Yeah,
But
it doesn't
there's
necessarily-
one thing that most students are afraid of is their school counselor. Those people are a different breed. I don't know what to say. You know, you can tell them something so personal, and tomorrow your English teacher is like, Amanda, come I talk to you, and you're like, what?
You said?
Actually, I had you. What? Who
Where did you
told you
get
that?
this
Where did
information?
you know, and like that's when you start. That's one of
To
the reasons why
withdraw.
you stop trusting people. Because I've told you something so personal that maybe even my own family doesn't know, and you have the audacity to go and tell someone else. Like, be so for real. That is not.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not the time. Like, you know,
But
I
are they,
understand.
do you think
the
they're
fear
raising
of
alarm?
it.
They're like telling the teachers that, hey, or like you need to watch out for this person because they might be
Maybe, you know, sometimes I understand
suicidal.
concern.
Yeah.
If it's so for a topic as crazy as suicide, or even like every single thing on that list, there's cause for concern, because you know there's some matters that are so completely out of your hands, because in that moment you need a what's it called, a village around you. If I knew that, let's say Aman, I'm sorry, if you told me something as crazy as that, I feel like I would be obligated, because if something happens and I didn't say anything, that would be on me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
but-
let's say I was trying my best to help you, but then there's some things that I want you to get
Yeah,
the best possible help that you could need.
like, okay, you know, there's some things like that need to be spoken about and don't need to. Like, I can tell you, okay, my parents are fighting at home, for example. You don't need to go and tell my teacher
yeah,
that,
everyone,
you see?
that's
Like, that's not needed. But if I tell you I am going to kill myself, that's something you need to be like
okay. Concerning,
like, you know.
I need to tell someone about this.
And you know, one thing is you need to like, but you shouldn't go like, she's going to kill herself, be careful, you know, remove that door. Like, no,
yeah,
don't
lock,
do that.
bar down all the windows.
Yeah.
All the bedroom door.
Yeah,
That would be the thing the
She's
parents would
staying
do.
on
Yeah.
her own, nothing.
Away from the knives.
Give me that phone. See, you want to no. It's
Because of
not
that
that.
phone of yours.
yourself.
Yeah, it's 'cause of that phone.
Like, you know, it's not everything is the phone's fault, by the way. Let's
Please.
just
But
know
like,
that.
if I have a stomachache, it's not
Like,
the phone.
it's not my
It's
phone.
not the phone, really. It's really not the phone.
Calm down. That does not correlate. Like,
But some of the mental
Yeah,
things,
social
like,
media for
or
sure.
even, do you know, if someone is suicidal, the reason people take away their phones is because you don't want them to Google ways that they can.
no, when you
Commit
Google,
suicide.
Yeah.
when you Google how to kill yourself, it literally takes
They
you to
will
a
send
help
you to
site.
a help center. Yeah.
Oh, you've Googled that.
No, actually, no. Even on TikTok, it's the same thing. Like,
I
I,
text it to her.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good on Google, man.
yeah.
Honestly.
I think they do that on all
But
sides.
there's
Good
dark
job.
web,
Yeah.
but no ideas. No, I'm not trying to give ideas.
Oh my gosh, why would you say that? I won't even repeat it just in case they didn't hear it.
But like, I feel like maybe parents need to be more understanding, and like
we
maybe
go through things too.
But
Yeah.
children also need to be understanding of their parents
true,
as
by
well.
the way.
Just
By the
offer
way,
the exact
our
same
parents
grace.
aren't.
Yeah.
They also go through things as
yeah,
well.
they do. They do.
Yeah.
You're asking children to offer grace.
To their parents.
It should be
yeah.
mutual,
The
like-
parents don't have answers to everything. They're not perfect people. They're trying their best.
When we say children, like teenagers,
Everyone.
Everyone who's a
If you
child.
have-
Everyone
if you're a
who's born
child-
out of someone else.
Yes.
But understanding needs to be mutual, because the thing is,
And that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, when it comes to kids, the reason why they sometimes feel like disconnected from their parents is because the lack of listening and understanding. Because we are supposed to give them some grace, because even them, they have their lives, they have their problems. But for us,
I feel like sometimes, I know what you mean. The thing of, you kind of step back because you're like, hey, even you're going through your own things. Let me take a step back.
Not been taken seriously.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, so like when you come up with your own problems, it becomes a whole thing. For even us, we have problems.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, let's solve them.
Yeah, yeah. Let's solve it together.
Yeah,
Like,
or your problems are child's problems. You grew up and find
you grew
real
up, you'll be fine.
problems.
Wait till you pay bills, you realize what problems are. Yeah. You're too young to be having problems. What do you mean? Like,
I don't think it's
Maybe you're the
minimizing.
problem.
I don't think when they're saying that they're minimizing your problems, I think sometimes it's parents trying to say, like, really, I know you think right now it's a big deal, but I promise you in 10 years it's not going to be
will
that
get
big a
worse.
deal.
That's fair. And honestly, I get it. Even me, when I look back in my life and I'm like, these things that had me staying up till whatever time
Yeah,
thinking about,
yeah.
like, it was such a small thing. But
So
you
they may say
can't-
you don't know what
you can't
problems are.
approach, yeah, you can't approach it from that angle,
But,
because
that's what I'm saying. The
if you're telling me
grace,
it
like,
will get worse, essentially. like
you're gonna.
That's not-
I
that's not
want to kill
instilling
myself.
confidence in
No,
them.
don't
feel like
focus
it's
so
worse.
much on the words that they use, but the intention behind the words.
But you see, at the moment, moment at which you're going to talk to them about it, are you really in a position where your emotions are settled and everything? You're going logically to approach them with any problem you have.
For example, let's say at 8 years old, your parents go through a divorce, and then the kid is taken by the mom, and so the mom was moved on from the guy, but the kid was seeing this man. So now it's like, where is he? Where is he? Where do I see him? And all this. He'll keep answering that question because he doesn't
Like, is
understand.
it my fault? Like, what's
Yeah,
going
was it
on?
me or like where is he? What's happened?
Yeah,
Who is
what
this
does
new
he
guy
ever- yeah.
doing in our house? And so to the mom, she's moved over it, like she's done with that guy. But for the child, it's like, who is this guy?
Who is this? Like,
Who
I
does
don't
he
know
think
who this
he
is.
is?
Who are you?
I think one thing I'd like to ask, just for you guys to elaborate on us, is when a problem, like he said, a problem that's not yours becomes yours based on the people you're with, especially like your parents right now.
Don't carry someone
think-
else's cross.
I think parents can definitely do a better job of like the transitions in life, such as divorce or even death. Like parents can definitely do a better job of trying to, help the kid along those lines. But even for them, they've never been through it unless they were 8 years old when the parents separated as well. They don't have the first-hand experience of what that looks like. So, like, I don't know. I would say, I don't know how you can tell an 8-year-old have grace for your parents, but I just think
But like make it apart. I feel like the whole concept of the whole thing of making it apparent, being more aware that your actions, because this is one issue I have with most parents. Like some of them, either they'll get married young and then have a child and they're not fully equipped, or others just
wow.
or others just get married and have
You're
a child.
calling out
and they're not-
everybody today.
I said we're really cutting out a lot of people today, aren't we?
but yeah, that whole thing of the awareness, because for them it's like, for a parent, I know, or at least I'm learning slowly, I'm not a parent. Yeah, I'm not a parent.
Are you
But
sure?
I'm saying,
Are you sure?
Let me finish my point. I pause so that people understand that I'm not a parent. Anyways, I was saying, like they go through this thing of this child is so amazing. Like they go through the whole development of, wow, I'm taking care of someone, but then they sometimes may overlook the fact that this is a person who, as they grow up, they'll get more aware, they'll get more knowledge about these things, and I need to be able to not see and predict, but just understand that that's going to happen as well, and not go through things like this person doesn't need to worry about anything until they're
That's
24.
right.
I agree with you. I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
parents should get all the help they can get from people who've done it as well. I just think, people will think, even my parents didn't know what they were doing, and I still turned out okay. But that's not
That's
okay.
the problem.
That's the
Guesswork.
problem. Yeah. So I think even parents can do a better job of just equipping themselves, like you said, wanting to
If you're
learn
not
more.
ready, you don't have a child.
And now there's accessibility to a lot of resources that parents can use to help out. And even churches do programs like, Leah or something, parenting classes. Just every single stage that your child goes in, maybe educate yourself a bit more on how you can handle. Us speaking like we're parents, guys. Sorry.
You're not married.
There was ADHD, and I was gonna say, because girls go through ADD without the H, the hyperactivity. Because ADHD is more in boys, because the hyperactivity is more in like young boys. But girls go through ADD as well, and it's very undetectable because there's no hyperactivity. But then you find a girl who just does like multiple things at the same time, or they cannot focus on one thing. It's more stigma, like, I don't know how to explain it in a way that makes sense. It's more undetectable in girls. So I just think parents also need to watch out more, like look out for it more. It's not, your kid is not just distracted. They could be going through something, or they don't understand.
So it's not a natural occurrence, ADHD or ADD. It's something that develops.
I think it could be both. There's kids who are just who have a hard time sitting in one place, and then there's kids who just.
So is there a way to like calm them down? Well, not calm them down, but like slow down on that whole.
Medication.
I mean,
but
a
not
natural
but
way.
there's natural ways of then like you cater to where they are, like, because like it manifests very differently in different people. So a lot of parents sign up kids for different activities to keep them engaged, or you just even the level of education, because you find people who go through ADHD or ADD sometimes are also super intelligent because they're just like processing very many things at the same time.
Sometimes.
So like I think it's just finding what works for the specific child, and then like working with the child on that.
Okay.
Next, should we move on?
Yeah.
Anything? Okay. I struggled. The thing? What? Oh, oops. I struggled with the thing I struggled with this year in 2022 was a pornography addiction and masturbation. This was because I was molested at a young age and developed hypersexuality, but God saved me.
So does the but God saved me? I asked this. Does it mean they found redemption or?
But God saved me.
Pornography addiction and masturbation
Where it came from.
because they were molested at a young age. Oof.
First off, one thing I want to say is that it's not your fault. That's one thing that people, and stop making that person feel like it's their fault. Like, just because you wore that dress, it's not your fault. They have no right to touch you because of what you've worn or because of what you look like. And that's just the truth. So don't ever feel like it's your fault, or don't let anyone make you feel like it's your fault. Yeah, that's...
Yeah, and maybe porn addiction should be treated like we would treat other addictions, as opposed to it being something you're ashamed about.
Yeah.
And now you're doing it in secret or whatever.
Yeah.
Like the only way to get help, much as it's such a taboo, is to honestly talk about it.
Yeah.
And you
But there's
have
something that
like
was
things
there at
like
the end. There was
But
something at the
God
end.
saved me.
No, the hypersexuality part.
this was because I was molested at a young age, and I developed hypersexuality.
Hypersexuality is essentially, it's more common against sexual abuse victims. There's some people who, because they were assaulted sexually or raped or molested, any of that stuff, is their sex drive is on overdrive. So anything essentially can get them sexually charged, or really it's like an on and off button. It can be turned on at any point, and it makes a lot of people struggle because, like, there are people who would turn to sleeping around a lot, and they can sleep around with as many people try to like curb that. What's
Take advantage.
yeah, exactly. So, and there's some other people who they would never ever want to enter the same bed with anyone because they're scared something will happen again or something like that.
Yeah. Well, I love what Batus said, that treat pornography or masturbation as any other addiction. And she said you need to talk to someone. And I always say sin thrives in secret.
Yep.
So until you are ready to come out and say, by the way, I am struggling with pornography. And I think we need to stop stigmatizing sexual addictions and seeing them as so shameful that someone cannot come in and
Because at this
talk
point,
about
they're
them.
too common for us to
Yeah,
even be doing
yeah.
that. It's just...
And we've seen very young people, 12, 11, already into pornography and all that. So there is the need to come clean and talk to someone and speak out and just say, by the way, I'm struggling with this sexual addiction, because the thing with sexual addiction rather, it's accessible because you're in your room, you're alone, you have a phone, you have internet. You can it can really become, your life can begin revolving around that addiction unless you get it out of the closet, no longer make it a secret.
Yeah, and find, I don't know, there's different ways that you can do to reduce the temptation of make sure porn sites are blocked. I don't know.
Prohibition.
Huh?
Prohibition.
Yeah, prohibit those sites from your lap. Like if you truly want it to be you want to get healing from it. I guess as a talk to a person, prohibit all those sites and just avoid all the sexual triggers in every form, be it literature, be it movies, be it whatever. Avoid it in every form.
I wanted to ask you a question, but this is a bit controversial for the director, so I think you'd be cool with it. yeah, we've said that we should put these ad blockers on these sites and everything. But what about guys who work like in that industry and it's like their job and everything, and like he's a friend? How should we as Christians, how should we like deal with that? Like, is it our place to tell these guys, these companies, you should stop doing your thing? You know, you're not providing anything to society and all that.
Yes,
So we as Christians should
we should speak up. We should
and boycott
protest.
these companies and all
Yeah,
that.
because what they're doing actually should, like, it's so inhumane on so many levels. Because a lot of those people, a lot of like former porn stars or people who worked in the adult, what is it called?
Adult industry.
Adult industry. Yeah, all of them really talk about how oppressed they felt while working there. So it's very, and there's so much rape that goes on. There's so much, I don't know, just a lot of inhumane things that happen within that industry. That it should not be a thing. I don't think it's legal in majority countries. So they manage to, a lot of the production is done in countries where they don't have as strict laws, I guess. So yeah, I think it's our job as Christians to speak up. It's our job as Christians to call them out. It's our job as Christians and to teach that there's redemption for people who are in the industry as well.
What about people who want that? Like, you saw the rise of OnlyFans in 2020 when there was that whole pandemic, everyone was locked in. There's an explosion of women that became millionaires from exposing their their creation on the screen.
Their
What about
jiggly
people
bits.
who willingly, they like that type of industry, they want to be there, you know, are willing, they like this type of job and everything?
I think the gospel. I don't know that there's any other, like, the gospel is the solution to all mankind problems. I guess it's just pitch the gospel to them, and once they realize their identity in Christ and their worth, I just think it will be the Holy Spirit would do the work of convicting them of their sin.
All right.
That's
Yeah.
so wrapped up. Okay.
Just to mention on the molestation, I think Ivan at some point had talked about healing, finding healing and counseling to let go of that pain of the rape from a young age, because you can grow up with it and it can affect you and your family if you do have your own family, get married and all that. So it's important to also find healing for that.
I want to ask, is it, for the question on rape, would it be advisable for someone to seek therapy from outside church or within church? And the reason why
I believe in
there's a reason why I'm
therapy and
going to bring up
theology.
church. There's this stigma, or I'll say a stigma against people who have been sexually molested. If you bring this up, it's like, and you say at a young age, so when I was a teenager, so it's like, no, you weren't. You were just messing around and all that. Like they dismiss you and like they don't take you as seriously, or they put a label on you like this person.
Say by young
this and
age, they
this,
say like
you know,
5,
and all
6.
that. So do you think if you found someone who was going through that, would you recommend them going through church therapy or like a professional therapy outside of church?
I would definitely recommend church therapy, because then we're offering also the gospel as a solution to what they're going through. Because there's things like, it's such a hard space, because even healing has to come with forgiveness. And I don't know how you can see someone can forgive someone who's molested them outside the Holy Spirit. I don't see how that's possible.
No. What?
So I'm saying, so because we're teaching them, we're giving them, we're presenting the gospel to them, and also we're praying with them, which means we're allowing the Holy Spirit to work within them. And because healing also, like, to be able to heal the person, the person has to forgive the person who molested them. And true, genuine forgiveness outside God, outside Christ, I don't know how that's possible. That's why I wouldn't advise for secular. I mean, I'm sure it works. But my personal preference would be therapy that's, like you said, mixed with theology.
My personal preference would be outside of church, and I would say this is from a personal background. In the States, there's another church that I went to while I was there, and 13, 14, there was a case going around about someone who had been raped and all this. So now when I think about now, at 14, I was hearing it from not the original person, but as like
A talk show.
a talk that was going around. That that happening type thing. So to me, I feel like I would recommend someone who's outside of church, because I believe that if God created this universe, if He's almighty and everything, He can use someone even who's not in church too as a tool to help this person out. And also sometimes, I'm not saying this for all churches, but I feel like there's some churches where, your name's gonna be thrown around a lot. You told this person, why does Auntie Mama know about this?
Yeah, but we can't paintbrush the whole church just because one church did that. We can't say all churches now shouldn't do that, or all counseling within the church is because that was wrong for that church to do. That I don't
It's
think.
wrong, but it's
But it doesn't diminish the power of church therapy, as Bato is saying, because there is a place for the gospel in healing. And as she said, forgiveness without understanding and knowing Christ would be practically impossible, because it would be difficult for.
So someone going through this can't. Someone who's going through this and is seeked help from a professional therapist, you believe that they won't be fully healed. You feel that they will able to overcome what they've gone through, but you don't think they'll be healed because the God was not involved. It's not towards you, it's to anyone.
I'm sorry, the question was?
If someone seeked help to a professional therapist, do you think that they'll get help, they'll move over this, but they won't be healed because God wasn't there?
In the situation.
Yeah.
I think...
I feel like God can work through any and everyone.
I think the same steps like forgiveness.
Yeah.
I feel like even a professional therapist would let you know that first off, it wasn't your fault.
Yeah.
And lead you towards the steps of first off forgiving this person for whatever that they did to you. And in the same way, it will still give you that same sort of healing, because let's say you've gone to a professional therapist and you're still Christian. You say, let me go give my testimony, and rallying yourself around people who love God, and
Right.
in that situation of you're in church and you can feel God's presence, you may be even like moved to even continue to give your testimony, and people can learn from you in that sense. And I feel like it will also help you as well, because even though God might have not been in the situation directly, that you still will find that healing. It might take some time though, but I feel like once you put God into the situation, then things become
Once you
better.
put God in the situation.
Yeah.
So God's not here, like, he sits here
So-
at Mavuno and he can't like walk out.
No, that's
the office and do his
No,
thing.
but no, God wouldn't invite himself to a situation where he's not invited. Like, he wouldn't just come in.
Yeah.
If you don't really put God into the situation, if you don't ask God that, God, I know I went through this, I know, like,
Was
if
that-
you don't actually invite God into the situation,
There's stories
then that's
of people
completely
who
different.
say they thought they were healed, and then when they gave their life to
It's
Christ,
when they really
realized,
realize
wow,
that, oh my
actually,
gosh,
there's wounds that I've
so
been
much
carrying.
that, yeah,
Exactly,
true.
because I think there's something that the secular therapist can't give you that you can get in church, is that whole feeling of being loved by someone else. Because you know that whole situation of being molested and everything, you can learn to forgive and everything, but there'll be that something that's hidden deep inside you that you didn't even know about, in terms of wanting to be loved in a different way that's not like
Intimacy,
this.
and that's why you
fearing
probably
something.
turned to-
Exactly. So when you go
yeah,
to a point where
placebos.
that whole of you go to anyone because you want love, or you run away from people because they're showing you love, those are small cracks that you can find that therapy won't exactly tell you it's a problem, because you yourself didn't know it was a problem. So that's why if you go to somewhere like a church where you're told about God and his love, you understand that this was not a form of love that happened and all these things, and this is a true form of love that God is giving me.
Are we done? One last one?
Okay.
Okay, so this one is, we've kind of already dealt with it, but quarreling with my parents.
Quarrel.
Quarrel with my parents.
My rights.
My specialty.
You're special.
Okay, that was a joke.
That was a joke. That was a proper
You're
joke.
grounded,
It was not serious. It's just banter. It's just banter.
Yeah, this is for jokes. But I mean,
I think it's a stage. There's a stage where everyone goes through that, where you're just constantly butting heads with your parents. But then, like I said, don't act on every feeling you feel in that moment. Just
Yeah,
give
true.
it time.
Sometimes just shut up and
Yeah.
then talk about it later.
That's true.
You know,
That's
something
true.
I've also realized is I've seen stories of people. It's like the last day that they were with their parents. Like, let's say, it was in the morning and they had a conversation. They had a fight, and then they end up screaming, "I hate you." They leave, and then later that day, the parent didn't come back home. You also have to realize that in that moment, whatever you're feeling, that could be the last thing you might ever need to say to your parents. Like, that could be the last thing. Like, I always try to.
It could be valid though. If you felt deeply
Valid.
angry.
You felt like you hated them.
Imagine. I feel like at that moment, let's say your parents didn't come.
You
Let's say
didn't-
they died in
yeah.
a car accident. That
You'll
same
always
day.
blame
They-
yourself.
You'll blame yourself, or you'll think that they died thinking that you hated them. And I feel like that's such an unfortunate thing.
I feel like you're creating a
And-
fear of expressing yourself.
Yeah.
Because now it's like, if I
Yeah, I mean,
express
why are you
myself-
telling your mom you hate her? Like,
No, I'm not telling my parents that I hate them, but expressing yourself generally, like your true emotion.
Okay.
I don't think there should be fear in that. Like, if I tell them in the morning how I generally feel, what you did to me, and all this, that
I
when
think-
they go to work, they'll. And,
No, I think sit on that feeling though first. Like you really
No, hate is
process
such
it
a
first
powerful
before
word,
you
you know.
before you tell your parents that you hate them.
Here's another thing, before it gets to that point of hate and everything, I feel like with parents, the reason I'm assuming they've written it is because quarreling was not they shouted at each other once. It feels like it's a constant thing that happens.
Yeah.
And for them, the reason it may constantly happen is because they're talking and it's hitting a wall and it's bouncing back for one reason or the other. They could be listening and be like, okay, nothing changed. Although they can listen and be like, it doesn't matter. It's not a big issue, or they just do one thing or the other to make it seem like it's gonna go with a back and forth. And for people over time, I'm assuming, not even for me myself, over time it's just like you are saying one thing, you have tried to be respectful, you have tried to honor them
But
in
they're just
every
not
way,
listening.
but you are hitting a wall.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
God's grace is it's abundant and infinite.
Yeah, but still.
you may be feeling like
For
it's
this
getting
one
to the
person,
end.
at this point, like,
And
there's a tipping
you're just
point
like, hey, I'm seeing the edge because
Yeah,
right
yeah,
now,
yeah.
it's a whole thing. And yeah, I feel like it should never get to a point where you hate them because, again, all these things are coming from a place of love on their side as well. Or at least they try their best for you to get to that point.
yeah.
But it's it's tough. It's like I understand that line itself. I understand it
my
so well
parents.
because
Seek outside help.
Seek outside help.
Yeah.
to what extent? Because I feel like I know someone who has had a similar kind of argument with their parents, and for them it's always similar or the same thing. They seek outside help, it comes bouncing back, and they're just like, "Why are you seeking outside help?"
Yeah,
All this,
what
like,
do you mean?
it's-
You can't
it's-
talk to me or
Yeah,
something like
like
that, yeah.
you've been
Why
put
did
in
you tell me in a box
Yeah, you
in
put
that
in a
moment?
box. There's no
Then
door.
start
There's no
even more
nothing.
quarrel,
You're
exactly.
talking to them, it's bouncing back. You're talking to anyone else, it's coming back to you. There's no progress.
When you've done everything and there's no solution, imagine I just think pray. Like maybe you need to stop trying. Stop trying
Just
and
give it to
just
God.
like
Like,
yeah,
there's
just
some
leave it, man.
situations
Surrender
that you
it,
need
man.
to,
Yeah, like, just
first
put it-
invite
Yeah, just
God's
be like,
presence
okay,
into
cool.
it.
I've done everything I can. I can't do
Okay,
anything
it's your
anymore.
turn now.
Lord,
Yeah, you do,
I
yeah.
give up.
But
It's yours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
So I think other than that, we're done.
We are.
Yeah, it's been a good talk.
We had so many, we couldn't get through all of them, but
Yeah. Maybe next time.
Maybe next time.
Anyways, yeah.
We've been talking for so long.